Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody today. We're really excited. This is going to be a wonderful hour spent together, and we will have time to interact and schmooze a little bit later. The first half an hour or so, I will be teaching from the PowerPoint. If there's any issues, just let Maddie know, but I'm not sure how to do that. So I just like to start by saying, why am I interested in Jewish magic and superstition? It's been 2 years now since I've been investigating this area. It all started when I had a copy of Moment magazine from September 2018. And in it was a very interesting article called The Weird and Wondrous World of Jews and Magic. And one of the stories they told right from the beginning is going back to 1995, the year that Yitzhak Rabbi, alav hashalom, was murdered. And after he was killed, a story came out that there was a group of Orthodox rabbis who did not like that Yitzhak Rabin was exchanging land for peace. They didn't want to give up one speck of land to the Palestinians. So this group of rabbis got together, went out to the field, took some Torah scrolls, they blew a shofar, and they did the following curse. They put a curse. This was a month before he was killed. On him, Yitzchak, son of Rosa, known as Rabbi, we have permission to demand from the angels of destruction that they take a sword to this wicked man and kill him for handing over land of Israel to our enemies. This curse was known as the Pulsa de Nura, lashes of fire. It's an ancient Aramaic ritual mentioned in the Talmud and then seen in other books of magic and ritual from the Middle Ages. It became a household word in Israel after this was known, and people spoke about it a lot. So from this article, which then went on to talk about the role of magic and superstition in our lives, I started to collect books and articles and been studying and reading. And as a disclaimer, I need to say, the more you study, the more you think you don't know. So I obviously know more than most of you, so I'm okay. But if I was going to teach this class, this would be months more of study. There's actually a woman in Ithaca College superstition for years, and I would love to take it. It's incredible how academic and interesting all the articles are. I've been ordering more books, so I need to stop. Anyhow, let's start with the first. Go back, Maddie. Who's afraid of the evil eye? So we're going to start there because Hamsas is so prevalent in our society. Everybody say kinahora, poo, poo, poo. I taught my daughter how to do this. She still does it today. We also say nisht ayin hara, which is part of Yiddish also. Nish means no, and ayin hara in Yiddish is ayin hara. So kin arahara also means kain, not the evil eye, as you could see there. This is one of the world's most ancient and oldest superstitions, found in many different faith traditions. It's rooted in what we call Jewish folk religion, from the Bible, Talmud, and the Midrash, and all the way through the Middle Ages to the present time, as we saw from the video when we first started. It's so interesting, this idea that we do things today and we don't even know why. My sister, for instance, wears the Hamsa that she wears every day. She's been wearing it for 25 years, and I don't even think she understands exactly why she's wearing it, or we all buy bracelets with eyes on them. In the Middle Ages, this whole idea of thwarting the malicious intent or effect of the evil eye. Now, go back to ancient Greek. You remember Medusa in the ancient Greek myths? Her eye can make men into stone. So eyes can shoot rays that strike with harmful or deadly force. The Talmuds taught the power to turn a person into a heap of stones just in a glass, that's the power, in a glance, that's a power some people had. And all the way into the 13th century, angry glances of man's eye call into being an evil angel who speedily takes vengeance. Now, it is very curious. You know, we say today you're giving someone the, oh, I just forgot the expression. Don't give me like the dirt eye, or you're giving, oh, the stink eye. That's an expression we use. Don't give somebody a stink eye. I'd like to just backtrack a minute. We need to realize we're entering into a world today of pre-science. People really wanted answers to the world's questions. Right now, look what's happening with COVID. We're desperate to know how contagious, how do we stop it, how do we protect ourselves? I'll be honest, if someone told me to walk outside with garlic around my neck, I would do it if it's going to ward off. I happen to be susceptible to non-scientific ways. Some of us are. We're all looking for answers in whatever way we can find. So we have to suspend belief right now and go back into ancient times. People were frustrated. Women especially. You couldn't fall in love. You weren't doing well at work. Your house had rats or lice. How do you get rid of it? Before we knew how to take care of everyday problems, to superstition and magic. One of the teachers, this woman who teaches in Ithaca, Rebecca Less, said, look, let's not use the word magic because it resonates as something disparaging and negative. She said, let's just call magic folk religion. And I think it's more neutral. So instead of referring it to magic, which has a lot of connotations, we'll just call it folk religion. Maddie, second slide. So we're going now to amulets. Ancient people, as I said, felt that they were surrounded by mysterious and miraculous forces, both benevolent and hostile. It was possible to exert influence over these forces by action or words. So an amulet is an object, charm, or piece of jewelry believed to possess magical powers or protection. It's very important now to explain there's a difference between black magic or white magic. So black magic was mischievous, illegal. That's when you wanted to call on an angel to cause harm to somebody else, not for apotropaic or protective means, but more for very negative, disparaging means. The white magic is beneficial, and it gave protection against evil. So what we're talking about is folk religion that really used white magic. Later on, when the Kabbalah, amulets have been discovered in many ancient archaeological digs. What you see here are amulets that go all the way back sometimes, 6th century, 7th century, and also back to BCE times. I don't have those pictures that I have now are not exact, but what you see here in the middle of the amulet is oftentimes, my pointers here, these are some kind of angels, usually negative angels, and there's adjurations around them telling the angel that's causing pain or a toothache or infertility to go away. And when you wear this, it's as a protection or as a call for action to the good angels to help you through it. And as you see, these were the ways that certain angels were depicted by ancient times. And the words here can either be a blessing or an adjuration for an evil angel to go away or a good angel to come. The first book that I had, Jewish Magic and Superstition, is from the 1940s, and it was written by a rabbi, Joshua Trachtenberg. I had this on my shelf forever, looked at it occasionally. It wasn't part of what I was interested in. And I guess when I moved, it disappeared. So I actually bought myself a new one. But the old, the cover of it is very interesting. If you see that cover there, this cover are actually 3 different angels. They actually have names, Sanbai, Sansanue, and Samagloth. And these angels allegedly were sent by God on behalf of Adam in the Garden of Eden to bring Lilith back. Now, some of you know the myth of Lilith. She's very much a part of angelology. She's very much associated with a bad she-demon. A very malevolent she-demon is Lilith. She was allegedly Adam's first wife in the garden, but she would not be compliant. She spoke back, she answered back, she wanted to be equal, not just his helpmate. So she left. And it seemed like these angels here were called to bring her back. It really didn't work. And then finally an archangel did bring her back, but we all know she left. And God, in the second story, history. So these angels here are used of these in many amulets to protect newborns from the demon Lilith, who wants to come and snatch newborns. Lilith's plan of revenge for not being able to live in the garden the way she wants was to kill newborn babies. And so you needed a lot of protections. This one here, many amulets had the Birkat Kohanim. May God bless you and watch over you. And if you can see here, your Barechecha Adonai V'Yishmerecha is right here. And this was worn as a pendant. So you're actually wearing the Birkat Kohanim. It's similar to wearing a mezuzah around your neck with the Shema V'Ahavta. All right, we'll go to the next slide. We're going to watch a little video now about the evil eye. And we'll go to the next. So we're asking you a question now. Before we go on, we'd like a little interaction. So the question is, Hamsas and amulets, do you wear one? And there's a poll here being taken. So we ask you now to go and answer this as best as you can. Maddie, where did they go to? Oh, they're answering, okay. In the chat?
It should be popping up directly on their screen in the poll function, and we'll share the results with everyone in a minute.
Okay, mindful of time, we're going to look at it. Look at the first two questions. Do you wear it for protection or good luck? And is it just jewelry? And about a quarter and a quarter, so 23% equal who wear it for that. Another reason is only 8%, and almost 50% of us say we don't wear any amulets around with us. Thank you. Press your cross to get rid of it. Just press the X to get rid of your pole, and we'll move on now to the next. We're going to look quickly at the history. So Judaism, as you know, has superstitions, miracles, magic all over since its inception, and we see this biblically, that the practice of magic was not wrong. It was only the practitioners, legitimate Jewish prophets and leaders who could do magic. So charmers, whisperers, incantations, secret curses, it was a favorite pastime in ancient Jews. You don't rule against something unless it was happening. We see big prohibitions in Deuteronomy, 3 types of magic, which foresee the future. And these were absolutely not something you're supposed to be involved in. Soothsaying, sorcerer, diviner. Don't be a necromancer either, who prays to the dead for assistance. And yet, King Saul, the first king of Israel, wanted to go to Samuel, who was already dead, and find out what he could do to keep his kingship. And he went to a well-known witch, the witch of Endor, and she was able to call the ghost of the prophet Saul, who told Shmuel, the prophet, who told Shaul, the king, that his kingdom was over. And so here you see in the picture here the prophet Samuel being called up by the witch of Endor. So let's go on. Other things I didn't put here, right from the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve were not allowed back in, there was an angel with a sword protecting them. We know we also had the talking snake from Bilam and Balak. Many other supernatural, I don't have enough room or time to talk about all of them. So Abraham encountered angels. He had a mysterious vision of the covenant of pieces. He was known to be an astrologer. God kept telling him, go up and look at the stars. And the stars also we'll talk about in a few minutes, how they are part of folk religion. Jacob had a dream of angels on a ladder. Jacob wrestled with an angel. Moses turned a staff into a snake. God sends plagues, splits the Red Seas. God makes miracles, some people say, and people do magic or folk religion. The tabernacle, the ark can zap or kill you. In the tabernacle, the ancient portable temple in the desert, the ark killed Aaron's 2 oldest sons. So there was also the priest who had this priestly breastplate called the Urim and Turim. It was a means of divination. It was like a Jewish Ouija board. There's letters that lit up. He asked questions, should we go to war or not? Are we gonna have good crops? What's gonna be? And he was answered by God through his breastplate. Prophets, men of God, they were not magicians, but they did magic, they did folk religion. So Elijah never dies. Here's a picture of Elijah going up in a chariot. So he's carried away. That's why Elijah always comes back for a bris or for the Passover Seder. And there's other reasons, which we're not going to go into now. Elijah is also over here. There was a dead boy, and he resuscitated the dead boy. He brought him back to life. Now, you could figure out rationally what happened, but you're supposed to believe it was miraculous. Magic fire lights the drenched sacrifice, consumes the Baal worshippers. His disciple, Elisha, another prophet, does the same miracles later on. So though outlawed, magic is prevalent in the prophets and the writings. Let's go on. So this is a little bit of a historical review. Magic in the Mishnah and in the Talmud. You had to be the right practitioner. So you had to be learned, and only pious men resort to this kind of folk tradition. And it was always for the common good. So Rabbi Eliezer, he evoked supernatural powers to prevent a house from collapsing. I have all the sources for this. I took them out of the PowerPoint, but if you want to know where you can find all this, just let me know. They're in all my notes. 3rd century rabbis, 3rd century CE, used a spell to create cows on Friday in time for a Shabbat steak dinner. Rabbis speak with ghosts in cemeteries. It's one of my favorite parts in the Talmud. You could go and ask some dead relatives, like where they hid their money or where the bank account is or their jewels that they put away. You also talk a lot about witches in the Talmud. 80 witches were hung in one day, and demon abound. Maddie, can you get rid of the waiting room thing? Because thank you. Many of you know about Choni, the circle maker. He enters a circle, he prays, and there's rain. Amulets, magic bowls covered with spells and holy names for protection, expel demons, exorcism, amulets, and curses, oh my. This was all very prevalent. I'd like you to look for a moment at this picture we have here, up over here. This is one of a demon that we don't like, and all around the demon is chained up to protect you and to help you get rid of whatever is going on in your life that's not helping you right now. The she-demon herself, we know that these were called bowls. They were certain kind of magical bowls that had been found in great numbers all over Israel. And some of it was called an exorcism ceremony. Exorcism became very popular. And this one actually was to rid a woman of her late husband's spirit who was bothering her or inhabiting her body. So they know, because of the words around here, the incantations and the abjuration, they wanted the spirit of the late husband to be released. And it's fascinating when you start really learning about more of these. I ordered a catalog. There was an exhibit a few years ago in a museum in Jerusalem, and they explain what all of these mean. They have copies. They put these all over the museum, the ancient bowls, the ancient posters that were hung up, and they explained what everything is doing. And there's a book you could buy too, which is amulets, which have amulets from all over the world and what they're used for protection. Here you see a coin that says Shaddai, which is also used. One of the things that was fascinating, people went to local practitioners and you asked them to make an amulet for you personally. So you can wear something, and it could be made out of natural materials, it could be made out of papyri or skin, or it could be made out of metals. If it's metal, then inside was parchment with the priestly blessing or a curse, or a way to, or asking for an exorcism to get rid of evils. Some of them were very basic, like to get rid of an aching tooth. There would be spells within the amulet to get rid of an aching tooth. Before you had a dentist or a doctor, you went to the local practitioner and you had it done. Many of them, of course, were women. Let's move on. Next slide. Medieval times, things got to be really repped up. Also, we have more extant material from medieval times because it's not so old, so long ago. As you know, we found a lot, about the Cairo Geniza and other Genizas, which kept old records of texts and records, property exchange, contracts. But within the Cairo Geniza were also a lot of parchments, amulets, books, textbooks. There's two main books of curses and magic to perform by certain practitioners. So it was widespread among medieval Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Remember, it was a time of great poverty, a lot of ignorance. Most people really didn't read or understand the world around them. The two main books were the Book of Mysteries and the Sword of Moses. Inside of them are magical spells and formula to know the future, manipulate objects, and make potions. So medicine, like medieval science or astrology, you cured with heat, herbs, specific foods, and with magic. Folk religion, calling for help of angels and demons to heal. Because life was so unexplained and diseases were unexplained and threats to people, they thought if you had a fever, it was an evil spirit. If anything was going wrong with you, you could get rid of it or get some help by a blessing. Demons can infiltrate a home, a body, thoughts, and dreams. Dream interpretations and books on love, how to intervene in relationships, were very popular, and many of these were found in the Geniza. Use of divine names and angels served magical purposes and were written inside of amulets. So let's go on. We have another poll to ask you. Did you know there was so much magic and superstition in Jewish tradition? Okay, so we're going to look now. 58% of you knew. All right, well, there, you could teach the class next time. No, I didn't know is 35%, and I'm very surprised. Only 6% are very surprised. Okay, so let's cross your X, and let's get rid of the poll, and we'll go on to the next PowerPoint. So when magic works, this is very interesting. One word I want you to understand is called apotropaic. In the Passover stories, when the Jews were told to put blood on the lintels, that's one of the first acts we see in the Bible, atropopaic, protection against evil. If you don't want to die, you take the blood of the lamb that you're going to sacrifice, and that has the power to prevent the angel of death from coming into your home. So amulets worked psychological benefits. Why? It might have been a placebo effect, if you want to be rational about it. And also people wanted it to be, there was a belief that it would work. So it's your belief that if something good happens, it must have been the amulet. It must have been the blessing or the curse. Some magician's recipe, i.e. one they found in the Geniza of getting rid of mice, contained arsenic, which was efficacious. So sometimes the magicians actually knew about herbs and what to use and how to really cure. And they said you had to go to them to make it happen, but if it's just arsenic, it would have happened anyhow. Magic works sometimes chance or coincidence. For instance, if there's no practical solution, sailors at sea wanting protection from storms, they resorted to magical methods, hoping it would work because there was nothing else they could do. Religious ritual. So this is really interesting. Wearing the tefillin, which we see here, a mezuzah, which we see here, and here is an amulet with inside the probably Shema and V'ahavta, also an amulet coin. These and Shema at the bedtime. These again. Here's the word apotropaic, which means protective qualities. So though we think today it's just a Jewish ritual, wearing a talit too is a sign of protection of the divine. God carried us with eagle's wings. This is like being protected with God's wings. Kissing the mezuzah, it doesn't hurt. You say a blessing. So Talmud, you may carry effective amulet on Shabbat, one that has healed a person 3 times. Recently I've been doing a daf yomi on Jewish learning, and this one was great because you're not allowed to carry on Shabbat. So there's 2 pages of discussions. If it's an amulet that's going to protect you, can you carry it? So the rabbis finally agreed it has to only been an amulet that worked 3 times. If you haven't had experience with this amulet and it hasn't been efficacious and it didn't really cure or help, then you can't carry it. It's a very interesting discussion in the Talmud of Shabbat. So Judaism is full of magic. There's a difference between ritual and magic. There's normative practice and folk religion. And I think that's the bottom line. Many things that we do here is because it's halakhically required, normative, regular practice. But you could also look at some of the rituals we have as folk religion. I'm hurrying because we want time to have a breakout session and some other things. So let's go on to the next. Rules about amulets and Hamsas. Here you see 2, and this is the keychain, and this again is the priestly blessing. Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, Adonai panav elecha. So know when you buy certain things what some of the blessings are. Star of David is considered to be a protection also. So in the Shulchan Aruch, 16th century, the last book of a code of Jewish living, which was considered normative. It's where it's the start-off point for any changes made in Jewish law. And it was nonpartisan because it was written by a Sephardic Jew, Joseph Caro, but then we have notes, glosses by Ashkenazic. So you have both sets of laws there, Sephardic and Ashkenazic tradition, so they felt it was very balanced. This permitted to heal with amulets and carry one for protection. It's called a kameya. I actually know that there's a website now by a colleague of mine where you could buy a kameya. This rabbi is actually making kameyas on demand for something you want and selling them online. There's a tradition to place an amulet near babies or women in labor for protection. Legends, amulet written with names of angels which protect against evil, as we talked. Lilith, evil, as we said. A Hamsa, the best known amulet to ward off the evil eye. Nishtayin hara pu pu pu, ancient time eye associated with greed, jealousy, and anger. And then the folk superstition, person or supernatural being can harm you when looking at you. In the Talmud, the rabbi said, 99% of people perish by the evil eye and only 1% by natural causes. It's geschrieben, it's written in the Talmud. All of these beautiful pictures here are things you can now buy online. It's amazing if you go in, type in Google amulets, and pages come up, or practical Kabbalah, pages of unbelievable gorgeous jewelry and opportunities for practitioners to make you your personal protective pendants, whatever you want to wear. So let's move on. Over here, some things we haven't talked about, and I do want to say there's many things we've left out here. If we had weeks for this class, or at least 2 or 3 more sessions, we really haven't talked about demonology, all about demons. We haven't talked about Dybbuk, which is the evil spirit that goes into possession. We haven't talked about exorcism. We're not talking about dreams. We're not talking about angels, sorcery. We're not talking about the golem, which was really popular in the Middle Ages too, and how you can make a golem to protect your community. All of these are not in this lecture. Also, the connection of black magic, demons, Satan with anti-Semitism, that's a whole other class too. So this is just a little overview. Okay, protections against evil eye, abracadabra and red ribbons. 16th century Shulchan Aruch sent minimum amount of charitable nations to avoid creating an evil eye. So you'll see on the Levi Shah website, a minimum donation to make if you want the protection from Levi Shah against the evil eye. Please go there and look for it. The names of angels and names of God, along with priestly blessings, are good defenses. That's why a lot of the ancient books of sorcery, you see all kinds of weird form. One of the things I read too, you look at some of the old magical spell books, they use their own magical language. They don't have Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled. The way they write the letters for Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled, they look like drawings that kids would make, but it's all secret, and they're magical ways, a magical alphabet in order to do spells. Spitting is fabulous. So you say you spit, you could all try it with me now. Poo, 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 nishtayin hara. Saliva was seen as a potent anti-demonic safeguard. So that's why the spitting was there. It really was supposed to make a surrounding about the angels. I really never experienced the red ribbon or the spitting until my daughter was born, and 2 of my tantes showed up. They were in their 60s from Russia. They came here as girls, but they remembered this. So, I mean, they came here, actually, they were born here. I'm sorry, my grandmother came here from Russia. But these girls were brought up like my mother was, but my mother had already passed away. Anyhow, they showed up with a Moses basket filled with red ribbons. Everywhere was tied red ribbons. And they started spitting on Lena. And I had no idea why they were doing this. But they said it was like, she's beautiful, poo, poo, poo. You know, she's going to grow to be healthy, poo, poo, poo. And then they started explaining to me that that's how you keep away Lilith and the evil eye. And I really had no experience with that until then. Abracadabra. Okay, this is again very problematic. Some agree, some don't agree. It may have roots in the Aramaic Talmud. God made the world with words. Avara de kedavara, meaning I create as I speak. So if you take the Aramaic avara de kedavara, and over the years when people didn't know what it was, it becomes abracadabra. Many people disagree, and they say it comes from other sources, from other pagan religions, but I like thinking it's from us, from the Talmud. Using this Aramaic phrase, a magician evokes the power of God to make something from nothing. Red ribbons for protection and good luck. The color red, anthropologically powerful and prophylactic, like blood and life itself. So putting a red ribbon on a crib to protect a child is giving the child life, chayim. Again, these ribbons are sold. When you go to Israel, there's women who, for $1 or $2, a couple of shekels, will give you red ribbons. And you can buy them all online now too. And each one of these beautiful pictures here too, you could buy online, hang around your house for protection of your house, to bring prosperity, to bring all kinds of good luck. Okay, next. We're going to watch this video. It's just fascinating. A background, quick background information. This video we're going to see, it's real. 40 years in an Illinois closet. This is a 19th century, this is a Russian collection of 19th century Kabbalistic amulets. Handwritten magical invocation for health, fertility, and finances. And it ultimately made its way to Israel. But I do want to share one thing. I looked this up. It was in Hadassah magazine. And these scrolls almost did not make it to Jerusalem. Just days after the amulets were removed from this Illinois closet where this woman found it and sent it to people in Israel, a steam pipe broke in the house and destroyed the closet where these amulets, where these parchment papers were stored. When the woman, in Jerusalem, when they marveled at the treasures near annihilation, Finkelman, the woman in Illinois, said, don't be ridiculous. If the amulets had been there, the pipe would never have burst. So let's watch the video.
The holder of the amulet from various potential threats, whether it's a birthing mother to protect the birthing.
Yeah.
This old suitcase might look small, but it contains a huge amount of questions. Recently, the Israeli National Library received it from a Chicago woman named Eleanor. She inherited it from her father, Max Brony, who got it in a synagogue in Moscow in 1959.
Being Jewish, while he was there, he visited certain Jewish sites, and he went to a synagogue in Moscow where the rabbi pulled him off to a side room, handed him the suitcase, and said, these have to be cared for, they have to be removed from the Soviet Union, they have no future here, take them out, care for them, but be cautious because we're being watched.
Nearly 60 years later, this precious item is revealed. It contains dozens of Jewish amulets made of paper or parchment. Many of them are associated with North African Jews of the early 20th century.
The suitcase contains numerous small rolled up Hebrew language and Aramaic language amulets designed basically to protect the holder of the amulet from various potential threats, whether it's a birthing mother to protect the birthing mother and the child, whether it's general protection for the household or success of the family, success in business. These mystical, magical amulets were meant to help and assist the wearers or the holders of the amulets to achieve success and to be protected from danger.
One of the most interesting items is this notebook, dated from the 19th century, which contains recipes for magic spells.
Judaism has a long tradition of magic that goes back as far as the Bible and the Talmud, where there is concern about angels, and there is concern about manipulating angels, and there is concern about what to do to protect yourself from demons, and what kinds of language can be used. And basically throughout history, with certain notable exceptions among more rational-minded Jews in the West in the modern period, magic is pretty common. It's part of the day-to-day life of Jewish communities, and Judaism in that sense is not necessarily unique. Magic was the borders between, say, magic on the one hand and medicine on the other and technology on the third hand. These are borders that are pretty ill-defined. And for a lot of people throughout history, magical amulets were just a part of their daily routine, a way of protecting themselves in the same way that exercise and vitamins and regular checkups might be important for the health of people today.
Scholars and experts are now examining these artifacts, but some questions still remain. How did this suitcase end up in Russia? What is the meaning of these amulets, and how does it shed light on Judaism and black magic? Israeli National.
So more and more is being revealed as we learn more. I have now about 8 different books in my library, all about the forms of folk religion called magic, superstition, spells, demons, angels, There's a wonderful book, which if you want, I could send you a bibliography. Just let Maddie know or somebody know if you're really interested. There's a book A to Z, which covers everything you want to know. Just look up a word and like amulet, and it will have pages on it, or angel. So these things are really been very popular. This book is pretty new. This seems to be something people are interested in now. So this is how I'm ending Jewish magic today. Right now, a few weeks, I guess it was a few months ago, my nephew went to an astrologer, and he sent me the astrologer's information and said, Toba, you have to see this astrologer. It's amazing. He knew so much about me. I know that I used to do astrological readings early on when I was in my 20s and 30s, haven't for a while, but I'm tempted to call this guy and see, can he give me some insight into who I am? I mean, you might laugh at me too. I do tarot readings. I don't do it for magic or something, just a tradition that helps you open up and think more about your inner life. We all say mazel tov. We just all say mazel tov. But mazel is a name for stars and the planets. So may your stars or planets be aligned for good. So when you say mazel tov, you're invoking an ancient folk tradition. Before modern science, astrology was believed to be an exact science accepted by Talmudic rabbis. One must not consult by astrologers, but rely on God, the rabbi said. However, if a person knows some undertaken to be contrary to their mazel, their fate as determined by the stars, they should take precautions and not rely on a miracle to save you. So if you happen to know that your stars are not aligning well because you already went to your astrologer or practitioner, don't take that trip or don't make a venture, because you're not supposed to rely on magic, but it doesn't hurt to be forewarned. Authorities advised against consulting astrologers, but nonetheless, horoscopes can be accurate if they're carried out by an expert. It had to be a pious practitioner. Evil eye. Pew studies report that only 16% of Americans believe in the evil eye today. Still, the use of amulets and talismans, like knock on wood, Hamsas, and eye jewelry, is increasing. Sefer Hasidim in the 19th century said, one should not believe in superstitions, but it is best to be heedful of them. And lastly, just a quick story. At the end of the article in Moment magazine, the author was having lunch with a woman who said, I couldn't get pregnant. I was infertile for 15 years. She said, I went to a local practitioner, an Orthodox rabbi in Jerusalem, to perform a sigula, a charm. He said, this would cure your infertility. On each day of Sukkot, she had to bite off and chew a pitum of the etrog. You know, the etrog had that little stem, and she had to bite it off and chew it and swallow it. And this would enable her to get pregnant. In late October, after 15 years of being infertile and doing that, she became pregnant. And she had at age 49 and had a healthy baby. There's no way to know why Rachel finally got pregnant, but looking at her glowing face and that of her beautiful daughter, I realized that the actual cause didn't matter. The author says, to me, it was magic. So now we'll go into breakout rooms and have a chance to talk about some of the themes we studied today. Do you feel magic and amulets have a role in the modern day or in your personal life to help you feel protected and safe? We're going to have probably about 5 minutes now. I went over, maybe 8 minutes, and be mindful of each other. Don't hog the conversation. Let everybody have a chance to speak for at least 1 minute. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. We now have a few minutes for a Q&A with Rabbi August. The way it's going to work, because we're such a big group, is I'm going to ask you to please send me a chat, a private chat. Looking at the bottom of your screen, there should be a little chat button there. And just send me your questions, and I'll read as many as I can to Rabbi August. But of course, we won't be able to get to them all, so thank you for your understanding.
I do want to just say one question came up in the break room, magic show versus magic. We're talking about white magic for protection and healing. So yes, we're not a magic show. We're not talking about magic, and we're going to use the word more folk religion as opposed to magic. Okay. I'm ready. Any questions, Maddie?
Haven't gotten any just yet. Oh, here they come. From Myrna, is a seance considered magic?
Excellent question. Hi, Myrna. I have not read about seances in the white magic. They pretty much, they would go to cemeteries to see ghosts. They really didn't do that. More, there was exorcisms. Exorcisms was very big, but seances really weren't talked about too much in most of what I read. And I'd have to do more work about it. So Jewish practitioners didn't do that, but they would like to speak to ghosts, but more so in dreams and cemeteries.
Judy wants to know, how does all this relate to the Kabbalah beliefs?
Hi, Judy. So Kabbalah has a section called Practical Kabbalah, and a lot of the texts for spells and potions come out of Kabbalah, and it's very much intertwined with the Tree of Life and the different aspects of the Sfirot. And I am not well versed in it, but it comes up a lot. So once the Kabbalah was part of a certain part of Judaism, it was brought into the people through practical Kabbalah and practitioners bringing healing through it, even though most people probably didn't understand how the esoteric aspects of it.
We have a question from Joy. Are you also familiar with the breaking of raw eggs on bodies? That was done to my grandma in Russia.
Yes, I've read some of the spells are amazing. Eggs are there's a lot of things with eggs because eggs are, so close to fertility. So I would think they would be a part of healing. I have some spells here about how to get pregnant also by taking raw eggs and mixing them with something and doing something else. And if you have a chance to look at some of the spells, they're just outrageous. Black cats and innards of animals and eggs, all kinds of things, yes.
Marion K asks, can you say more about Kabbalists who used white magic?
It gets to be very complicated and I don't know enough about it. Again, there's texts, the text, the Sword of Moses, Sefer HaRazim, the Book of Secrets. And to know Kabbalah, they use different names of God, they use the different Sfirot, they call on certain angels, and it's all part of an esoteric system that I'm not really that well versed on. But it's called Practical Kabbalah. You could look it up on Google. There's a site on Wikipedia, and you could learn more about it. Practical Kabbalah.
So Lydia is asking, God and magic, how do they relate?
So they like to say God performs miracles and people perform magic. In the Bible, when the splitting of the Red Sea, it's a miracle, or a talking donkey, it's a miracle, or Moses's serpent, Moses's staff turned into a serpent, it's a miracle. Again, they always attribute it to God. So miracles are attributed to God, and folk remedies and folk traditions are attributed to a learned, pious people.
Barbara Brown asks, I love learning with Rabbi August and wants to know if there's going to be anything more on this topic.
If you want more on the topic, just send an email. And what aspect would you like to continue with? One of the parts that I didn't do that I've done in the past too is how Jews were considered wonderful practitioners of medicine, even though before there was modern medicine. So many Christians would go to Jews, and it was hard. You couldn't say no. So if it worked, oh, the Jews are brilliant, and if it doesn't work, Satan involved. So it created more anti-Semitism. I would like to talk about how Jews got to be associated with the devil, killing Christ, the devil, and evil. Jews got very associated with black magic, and that led to terrible anti-Semitism, especially in the Middle Ages. And that would be an interesting class to talk about the rise of anti-Semitism because of the use of and the ability Jews had to cure and to heal.
So being mindful of the time, we're just going to do one more question. Before we do, I do want to announce that on Friday, August 14th, Levi Shah is going to be hosting a Shabbat service, and we welcome everybody to attend. So please check your emails and check the Levi Shah website, and more details about that will be announced soon. Also, after Rabbi August finishes the final question, we're going to give you all the opportunity to unmute yourself so you can say hello. So with all of that buildup, Rabbi, the last question is, what is a red bendel? My mother put one on Robin's crib from Myrna.
Well, again, the same thing. A bendel is just the Yiddish word for something that you tie on something, and the red is associated as I keep forgetting that word. Apotropaic. Red is life. So if you put something red on a crib, it protects the infant from any harm, and the red encourages the life. So it's a protection against any kind of harm to come or evil to come. And it's associated with life, blood, the blood source. Okay, so we could all say hello to each other.
Hello, everybody.
Unmute yourselves. Hi, Linda.
Hello.
Oh, Linda, you're in San Francisco, I see, with the golden.
Yeah, I'm putting my feet in the water. It feels good.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi, everybody.
Barbara.
Oh, it's so nice to see everyone.
Hey, it's
I'm
great
Myrna
to
Gale.
Barbara.
Where
Hey, Sharon.
Hey, Lee.
Marion, your
Sure.
hair not long.
My hair, Linda. Oh, look
Hi,
at these
Dina.
wonderful
It's Gladys.
faces. So nice. Hi, Sarah. Hi,
Dina.
everybody.
Gail.
Linda.
Hi, Bonnie.
Oh, people are coming from. Hi, Gladys. Oh, look at everybody.
So good to see everybody. This makes me so
Hi,
happy.
Robin.
And hi, Lydia.
It was
Emily,
wonderful.
and, Carol.
Hi, Sharon.
Erna.
There you
Hi,
are,
Gail.
Joy.
Eileen.
Oh,
Susie.
Hi,
oh,
Linda.
Joy.
I can't, hi, Susie. I can't wait, Gail. I can't wait till we see everybody in person. Hi, Sharon. Happy birthday to Sharon.
Hey, Sharon. Yeah, hi. That was fun yesterday. That was
That's
fun.
right. Happy birthday, Sharon.
I'm sorry I couldn't get on. Too many
Hi,
Zooms.
Linda.
Hi, Robin again.
Hi, sweetheart.
Barbara.
Hi,
Nice to see everybody. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, Leslie.
Lynn. Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
Linda.
Joy.
Mute yourself, Miriam.
This
So
reminds me of
it's
Romper Room.
so good to see each other. Oh, this is great. Hi, Lee Fisher.
Thank you.
Okay, and
Hi,
anything.
bibliography.
It's been a pleasure to teach you, and I hope to be able to do this soon. And we'll see each other at a Friday night service with Cindy and myself.
Bye-bye.
Thank